Good evening. Uh, these are the bedtime stories with Lila and Val and our wonderful guest Tim. And we're very happy to have him, and we're all going to do the best we can with our bedtime stories, and we'll be reading to you. And here I go. Again, there is no justification to killing anything, only cause and effect. Life is already what it is, and it is not what the root systems deem it to be. Just like the Indians who first lived on this land, they worked with the environment and did not try to change it, and this is what they taught their children. Today, as it has been for hundreds of years, the so-called white man is almost totally rearranged nature and is now having to deal with it. Through their own egotistical arrogance, the foreigners who came here did not pay too much attention to how the Indians lived and truly cared for everything around them. Instead, the newcomers saw the Indians as savages and pushed them aside. And when they wouldn't move, they killed them. And so today, a lot of payment is being made for all those involved. Those who do not accept the real guidance will continue on with the gods of man into future lifetimes of worst possible drudgery. Man, what is taking place today. Everyone has the right to choose their life, but it does not mean that life itself will uphold what a person chooses. Until a person learns about the real awareness and steps aside from the ego, they will be the effect of all they decide. Life is bigger than the little mind. One of the real experiences I have had with the new wave, the rod of power, is where a Superman, Green Lantern hero, this dream realizes would be under the heading of real heroes. Val, do you want to read from here?
Sure. In experience, I had the focused position with the all-in as I was demonstrating to a group of new students the difference between the power of the psych realms and the true reality of the is. I was explaining the power idea of how people normally consider the concept and application of it. Most humans are with the consideration that the dualistic forces are to be controlled and manipulated according to the mind and the mannerism of a person's personal self. But this is not at all what these forces are for. It would be like a person deciding how a plant will grow, which there have been a lot of scientific alterations. And when they truly do serve as a benefit to all concerned, then it does make sense. But in the case of something like Monsanto Corporation and what it has created with their GMO tech seeds and solely for their own little purposes, while using the marketing ploy idea of a benefit, here is where cause and effect will soon show up and will not be a benefit to anyone, but only a disaster. The power aspect can be a live wire, and it is best understood before it is manipulated. Here again is the psych sciences, which are the razor's edge on this level. There was mentioned here about the Indians and how the white men came. And did a takeover basically of the continent, and I'm studying this right now in my course in history, and they called it manifest destiny. There's a journalist that first coined this term in about 1846, 1848, and it caught on. But it took a while after, actually in Congress, it was mentioned in Congress that this idea that God gave us the right to take over the lands here, basically, and destroy the Indians and the Mexicans. And it was first brought up in Congress, and it was at first laughed at, actually. I heard there was an account that the congressman laughed at the idea, so they needed to market it so the public would accept it and everybody else. And they did a nice job. Finally, everybody did go along with that idea that, we belong here and these other people don't, these people that have been here for thousands of years. And it's just a demonstration of the takeover that basically the European bankers, headed by them from overseas and setting up the United States as a takeover country. I mean, it was well planned out. It's a huge, huge plan, and they're very creative in what they do. So that's kind of an idea and demonstration in the United States of what's happening all over the world, and with what the power idea is. It's like people misuse their power just because they can. They use it. They take over lands, resources, and people just because they can. But like Dwayne says here, the razor's edge. I mean, you have to be careful how you use the power. And actually, there's no power in the real universes. It's an isness. It's more of a no power position or reality in the real universes. So you want me to read further, or you feel like reading? We're going to just have a short show today because we're a little under the weather here, everybody. Okay.
Those are very good insights. Some of the major manipulations of our time is the invention of the atomic bomb and all the ones after it, which are even worse. HARP, which is based upon Tesla technology, which Tesla himself would have never built, as he was a real humanitarian. Military lasers, which are used to destroy. And then once again, we have the piston engine. That has done more than its part to extremely pollute the earth. These are a few lethal devices which are used in a misappropriation as they have become commonplace in today's society. The inventors of these and many other things were usually people who had the best of intentions. But when the government and the military got a hold of these creations, the end result is what is taking place today. When Paul was here, he warned people about those who misuse the powers they have, especially with anything of a nuclear means. Humans are very stubborn and are not at all interested in listening to the real guidance now. The power in the lower realms is to be understood according to the all is and its natural process when it comes into the psychic realm. In my super green lantern experience, I was showing the new students how to work with the lower power as opposed to directing it, because the all is in a no power position, and so it only makes sense that we each must learn to fully perceive what this true reality is, or stay in the lower realms and constantly struggle with those who rule. Paul Twitchell constantly warned people about the psychic sciences as they have been appearing and appealing a way about them. Just when we were small children, there were so many things that fascinated us, and when we graduated to being the adult, now there are new toys to be amused by. Humans do not, for the most part, see past their fascination for things, which they interpret into some kind of a thrill for themselves. Of course, one of the most important things for any of us is to have fun without our lives. But if a person sacrifices the recognition of their real awareness for the few small thrills of this world, then they will soon experience a real loneliness, as they have once again separated themselves from their opportunity to realize the true reality. With what the real guides have to offer, a person soon realizes that they will have everything they need. As I was showing the new students how the cause and effect of the lower nature of life works, at the same moment, I was also demonstrating the real position of myself and how the all is. In the movies, Superman and Green Lantern uses their powers, which are of this world, to upset and fight those who are using the same forces to have things their own way, no matter who they interfere with or hurt, like white and black magicians. What is taking place is the use of the same force. But according to the intent and focus of these deciding to do the same force, but according to their intent and their focus of those deciding to use it. Here is where the difference with what the real guides do and those who are still unaware of the all is. I stood in place as an example of beingness. What I am saying is, it's not a matter of me doing anything but being the light of life, instead of resisting anything that is taking place by trying to change what would be taking place. Here is where each situation is different, and a decision can be made or not. There will always be the bad guys and the good guys, as everyone chooses the role that they want to play. But the real position is beyond all concepts the mind and imagination can come up with. Most people will not comprehend what I am referring to simply because they have no real experience with the all is. As I stood being real, I could easily perceive that the new students were trying to imagine, but it was like children trying to figure out what their parents do at work. In this real side experience, I was standing with Revizar and Paul, and at some point, Miss Ursha showed up. It was a real surprise for the new students as they looked at her and stared motionless for the longest time. Because humans carry so much and so many little restrictions about them, they have a hard time going with the idea there is such beings as mermaids. My life and experiences are such that I have not put any mental or emotional restrictions on my imagination and awareness